Hi, thank you for coming back and welcome if this is your first time here to Joy and Pain. I just wanted to go over um, this surgery. Obviously, what I thought was going to happen didn't happen, so let's talk about that. So, my leg gave out and I fell. And at that time, I realized two things. One was that I was going to have to go to the hospital. And the second thing was that it was time for surgery. So I was in the hospital for about 4 or 5 days. I needed to have a myelogram and a CT. And when it comes to my spine, a myelogram does the job. And so while I was at the hospital, we had that done. It became very obvious that things had gotten worse. I believe that was the first time that I met Dr. Robert Marsh, the neurosurgeon. I believe he was on call for that shift, came by just to confirm what I already knew, that it was time for me to have surgery. So I met up with him later on. I want to say it was probably around May. I had my first visit with his physician assistant to make sure that surgery was the option I was ready for. And I discussed that with her and told her I did understand that. And then I had a meeting with Dr. Marsh. And at that time, he had said he wanted to do from the L1 all the way down to the S1. It was extreme, but there was so much damage on so many different levels that the long-term solution would be to go ahead and take care of it all now. The pseudo joint, the Bertolotti syndrome, was basically fused already, so he decided he wasn't going to mess with that. He was going to leave that alone, maybe take a look, see if any of the spurs needed to be shaved off, and that it was going to be an aggressive surgery, but the long run, I would probably get the most time out of it. Although I would have limited range of motion. At that time, I decided I needed to take some time to think about it. And I went home, I took a couple of weeks, I looked over the scans, I looked over my diagnoses again, and I came to understand that it really is the neurosurgeon's decision to do what he knows he can do. So I went back to him and said, okay, I trust you and I know you're good, and whatever you think needs to be done, let's do it. And that time he said, well, let's take another look. And I think maybe we could do like the L2, leave the L1 alone, leave the Bertolotti syndrome fused joint alone, and just fuse from the L2 down to the S1. It was going to give me a little bit more motion, but I would probably be back sooner. And I was happy with that. That was fine. I felt confident that that was his decision to make, and I was on board with that. So we signed all the paperwork and proceeded. And at that time, I was looking at September for surgery. I was still working. I actually needed surgery on my left hand, so I needed to get that resolved and have that healed so that I would be able to use the hand and put weight on it when I had the back surgery. So that was the plan. And what happened was the ablation process started to wear off, and so I was finally feeling the pain of the nerves that I had not felt for quite some time, and it was pretty shocking. At the same time, there was also an urgent issue with incontinence and the loss of use of the right leg. So at that time, surgery became urgent. It was not something we could wait until September 4. So I contacted their scheduler and we discussed it, and she discussed it, and neurosurgery, and everyone discussed it. And the only time they could get me in was August 17th. It was kind of a last minute thing, and that's what we were going to go with. And then I believe that was 10 days out, and I needed to go for my pre-admission testing on the 9th. So everything started happening very fast at that point in time. Now, at that time, I'm not really sure why, but I was under the impression that we were going to be doing the L2 down to the S1, maybe the L1 if he went in there and decided. I don't think that I really fully understood what was going on with my back and the urgency of the situation. So when I met with the team prior to surgery, they informed me that they were only able to get a surgery suite for 3 hours that day. So they were going to do what they could do, the best they could do it, and we would go from there. So that kind of took me aback. I did not realize that we were not going to be doing the entire lumbar spine. And I still felt that even though he had the time restriction, if he got in there and he saw something that needed to be done, I'm sure he would take care of it. So when I came out of surgery, I was informed that they had done the L3, the L4, and the L5, and that had been done. All the other things were laid aside. That was the time limit that they had, and that they felt that the area that they covered was going to have maximum relief, and I was happy with that. It was a very conservative approach. It was not what I thought we were going to do, but now thinking back, understanding the urgency of the situation, I also didn't realize that he was scheduled for vacation the very next day. So I have to take into account that he was willing to go into surgery with me when he was not planning on doing that, right before he was getting ready to, take some time away. And he did what he needed to do in the time that he had, and I am very grateful for what he did. I do also understand that now I will be going back sooner than I anticipated to take care of the rest of it, and I'm okay with that. So I just wanted to kind of break that down, because the original video that I started with and the information that I had at the time, my understanding is that we were doing the L1 all the way down. But because of the symptoms and the issues that I was suffering from, it was obvious that we needed to go in sort of an urgent manner and just kind of attack the situation. I think he did an excellent job. I have no pain. I have no incontinence issues anymore. So I am very happy with what was done. And I just, am just grateful of the relief that I am getting now. So I still think it was all a super success. And I do understand that I will have to go back in sooner than I thought. And I will be continuing on with this journey of recovery with my lumbar spinal fusion. And I hope that you guys will check back in just to see where things are and see how I'm doing. Thank you.